Friends, the warning has been given and the desperation in Brasília is not only real, it's palpable. The atmosphere in the corridors of power changed this week. The United States has just backed the Brazilian government into a corner in a way that no one, absolutely no one, predicted. We're not talking about a regular diplomatic note or a routine slap on the wrist. We're talking about a sentence of financial strangulation that has the power to bring down the very pillars of the system, you know? What's at stake here, my friend, is not just a political fight between the right and the left. Forget about that for a second. What's on the table is something much deeper. Heavy international sanctions, accounts frozen on American soil, and the definitive end of what they themselves in their behind-the-scenes conversations call shady business. And I'm going to show you with data and facts why Lula is desperately trying to negotiate, even offering our rare earths to the American government, in a pathetic attempt to prevent PCC and Comando Vermelho from being officially declared as terrorist groups by the United States. They know that if this happens, the house of cards will collapse. Just look at how serious this is. Pay attention, the United States government sent a direct message, but they didn't send it to the Ministry of Justice or to the Planalto Palace. They ignored the federal government and spoke directly to the president of the central bank, Gabriel Galípolo. Do you understand how serious this is? Why notify the central bank and ignore those who should be responsible for public security? Because Washington knows exactly where it hurts, in the wallet. They know Brazil's system survives only because the money keeps flowing. And they warned that they are moving towards classifying Comando Vermelho and PCC as foreign terrorist organizations, the famous FTO acronym. This is an unprecedented diplomatic humiliation in the history of Brazil. It's as if the United States is saying, we don't trust your government to fight crime, so we're going to do it for you by cutting off your financial oxygen. And when the United States designates a group as terrorist, they activate a legal nuclear weapon called the Magnitsky Act. And this is where things get much more serious. This law gives the U.S. Treasury Department the power to immediately freeze any assets on American soil and to prohibit any global bank from doing business with anyone even remotely connected to these groups. If you have a bank in Brazil that launders money for drug trafficking, that bank is done for. You have a bank in Brazil that launders money for drug trafficking. That bank is finished in the international market within 24 hours. But now comes the part that nobody told you in the mainstream media, but Shimon Oliveira is telling you, the part they're trying to hide at all costs. Lula fell into a deadly trap set by the American State Department. If he goes on television now to defend so-called national sovereignty against this American measure, he will be, in the eyes of the whole world, defending drug traffickers and terrorists. Well, he already did that at the UN for the whole world to see, defending the traffickers, saying they're victims of the users. So just imagine the scene. Lula trying to explain to Donald Trump that our little drug dealers are just victims of society and that the American government has no right to mess with them. It's the end of the line for the Workers' Party's international narrative, and there's the Trump factor. Trump's return to power accelerates this process dramatically. The Brazilian system trembles because it knows that with Trump, the State Department doesn't accept backroom fixes or empty talk. If Washington decides that the Brazilian financial system is being used to finance the faction's terrorism, the noose tightens. And do you think Alexandre de Moraes or Gilmar Mendes will be able to stop the US Treasury with the stroke of a pen? They may be in charge in Brazil, but in Washington, they're just names on an investigation list. Now subscribe, enable notifications, and like the video. But if you think Moraes is just going to sit back and watch this happen, pay attention, because now we're getting to the heart of the problem. Let's go back to Banco Master Rage and the connections that are coming to light. Paulo Figueiredo has already brought documents showing links between factions and investment funds that have direct ties to the highest levels of the country. Remember what we talked about. The system is a master at creating investigations to declare itself the savior of democracy. They say they're fighting the coup, but what they're really hiding is the shady stuff. The centrist voter, that guy who's not an activist, he might not even understand the nuances of the Supreme Court's investigations. He might even think that Alexandre de Moraes is right to punish those he thinks are coup plotters. But there's one thing the average Brazilian hates more than anything else: organized crime. No one likes to see drug gangs taking over their neighborhood. And when the United States connects the dots and shows that the Brazilian financial and legal system might be serving as a shield for the PCC, the system loses its last bit of popular support. And this is where the dictatorship of the robe clashes with the reality of the streets. Brás. Now let's get into the scenario that keeps every political strategist in Brasília up at night. What if the factions aren't just criminal groups? And what if they are, in fact, extensions of a political campaign? Think this through with me. There are entire electoral zones in Brazil where you can only enter if the local drug trafficker lets you, where the opposition candidate is forbidden to campaign under penalty of death. Who can guarantee that modern voter coercion isn't being operated by the Red Command under orders from those in power? Think about it. If the PCC and the Red Command are declared terrorists, the United States can investigate every cent that financed the 2022 campaigns. They can trace the flow of money that leaves the drug-dealing spots, goes through digital banks, and ends up with campaign strategists. If this connection is proven, we're not just talking about removal from office. We're talking about an international crime of biblical proportions. And that's why Lula is desperate. He knows that if the financial arm of the crime is cut off, the luxurious campaign cronies of the system will disappear and he'll be left alone on stage. The impact of this on the 2026 elections is devastating for the government. Lula knows that the economy is melting down. He knows that people are feeling the price of rice and beans double. The only way he can stay relevant is by creating an external enemy or controlling the electoral process through fear. But how do you control fear if your main instruments of fear, the factions, are under the watch of the FBI and the CIA? Well, the system is losing its ability to respond. The warning given to Galípolo was not by chance, it was checkmate. And the United States says, we know who you are. We know where the money is and we're going to pull the plug. Lula may try to hand over our rare earths, may try to make any backroom deal, but the truth is that the noose is tightening. The Brazilian system has reached its saturation point. And this isn't an isolated case, my friends. This is how a regime operates that has merged with the worst elements of society to stay in power at any cost. But the era of impunity, that time when decisions from Brasília solved everything, is coming to an end. The world is watching. And this time, the walls of the system don't have transatlantic reach. The system trembles because it realized that the truth is the only thing they can't censor outside our borders. But I want to hear from you who made it this far and understands the gravity of what's happening. Will the United States truly have the courage to fully stand up to Brazil's Supreme Court and the presidency? Or do you believe that Lula will be able to hand over what's left of Brazil, our rare earths and our sovereignty, just to save his own skin and that of his allies? Comment down below, because your opinion, your perception of reality is the only thing that still truly makes the system tremble. And pay attention, because if you're looking for the unfiltered truth, without the shackles of this censorship that tries to silence us with every video, you need to be where the system can't reach. Here on the screen is the QR code that takes you straight to our exclusive censorship-free community. That's where we go deeper into what the system doesn't want said. So click the link in the pinned comment and in the video description and join our community with over 3,000 members, and if you just like that. Are you tired of this woke culture, of all this whining that has even ruined our entertainment? Check out our series and movies channel. It's real content, with valuable tips, without any ideological agenda being forced down your throat. Everything is filtered so you can just enjoy movies and series with your family, including ones that talk about the wars in the Middle East and the fall of the system. Well, the link is now showing up on the card, in the description, and in the pinned comment. Shield your mind, protect your family, and don't accept silence as an answer. I'm Shimon Oliveira, and I'll see you in the next video. Subscribe, enable notifications, and leave a like.